It's Tuesday, so guess what I'm back doing? Book spoilers! This is our first post hiatus book that we reviewed, and this is If Looks Could Kill by Julie Berry. It is not out yet. It will be out on September 16th, and I'm going to spoil it really fast. So, warning, warning, warning. If you're a person who does not like spoilers, come back and watch this video after you read it. But if not, we'll spoil it a little bit, and then you can read it in detail on the 16th. So, this is a Medusa facing off with Jack the Ripper type book. I know. Wild. So we actually open up, it's 1888, I think, so it is a timepiece, and we have like kind of like multiple POVs. So we have Jack the Ripper in London, who is, as one of the suspicions or the suspects, it was a doctor, so he's a doctor. And then we open up with Tabitha and Pearl in New York City. They work for the Salvation Army as, everyone calls them Hallelujah Girls. They basically stand in like the lower Manhattan area and try to give out like their praise pamphlets and sell them for a penny or whatever and get people to come to church. So Tabitha thought they were going to be best friends. They're not, because Pearl is a very like strict religious person, very judgmental. Tabitha is like, yeah, I believe in this, but like also I want to like have a good time. They are like working, and they accidentally give, well, they don't accidentally, they give directions to a girl who asked how to get to this street, and then later they find out that she ended up in a brothel, and they feel guilty for it. So they like kind of start tag teaming with this other girl they meet who is Jewish, and that's important. She's Jewish and she wants to be a reporter. So they like start investigating, trying to get this girl out of the brothel that she's in. I think it's called the Lion's Den. And so then Jack decides, like, he's starting to get like followed by the police and stuff. He decides to hop on a boat to Europe, but like as he's getting followed by the police, he starts to get followed by girls who are Medusas. So he like kills one of them, and then he gets on a boat and he like knocks out another girl who ends up turning into a Medusa. So not really sure what's going on just yet. So what ends up happening is that the reporter girl goes missing, and they're trying to find her, and Jack also arrives in New York, and we don't realize it, but they actually like bump into him physically. Pearl does, and then Pearl turns into a Medusa. Like, and I'm like, how is it only like a couple girls? Because you could like literally just bumping into them. So like she goes haywire in like the back of a cab, and Tabitha's like, oh, what is going on? And they also learn that the journal girl is in the brothel now too, because essentially all of the girls in the brothel are like Jewish girls, because it's really like racist. I mean, that's what it is. And so Tabitha's trying to figure this all out, and also figure out what to do about the girls in the brothel and Pearl being a Medusa. So there is a freak show. I don't mean that in a bad way, but that's what they used to call them. And there's supposed to be a Medusa there. Well, come to find out, she's not real, but apparently she gets letters from like a crazy lady who like claims to be similar. So she is going to go check them out, but she ends up having to track down Pearl again, who decides to go into the brothel and break the girls out, because as a Medusa, it basically makes you want to like take care of the bad men. And while she goes in there to try to save them, we get Mike, who is the nephew of the local like bartender, and who has eyes for Tabitha, and he like comes along and helps. So they get the girl that was the reporter, and also the girl from the beginning, and the four of girls and Mike end up going to another area of New York, and they find this mysterious woman that's been writing these letters, and her name is Stella. Stella does in fact turn out to be a Medusa, but she's also cuckoo bananas and wants to like keep Pearl forever. And there's like weird statues, which you later find out are men she's turned to stone. And then when they escape from the brothel, of course the madam is after to get them, so she sends men after them, and Stella ends up turning them to stone. But then Tabitha like goes out with Mike to like go get their stuff, and the other girls think that she abandons them, so the two girls like leave, and Pearl also like vanishes out into the night. So Tabitha ends up staying with Mike, and she's just basically trying to figure all this out, and she like has a budding romance with him. And what ends up happening is that the two girls basically kind of like shun her, which kind of pissed me off, because they feel like she abandoned them, but whatever. Pearl ends up finding where Jack the Ripper is, because he's staying in a boarding house, and he's basically like trying to hide, but there are reporters that have like figured out, because there's like basically a private detective has followed him from England and has been standing outside the house. So now it's like kind of caused a scene or whatever. And Pearl ends up taking a job as like I don't know, like a housemaid or whatever, because everyone's quit working there because they all think Jack the Ripper's staying here. So she starts working there. He's planning on killing her. And the reason that he's killing girls is because it doesn't say what he has, but it's basically like he has cancer or something. And he thinks that their blood is like the elixir to life or their organs. But he was like, oh, maybe it's because I've been killing them first. So he's planning on doing this to Pearl, but like keeping her alive first and then killing her. So they have like a final face off, Pearl and Jack the Ripper. And he like literally starts cutting into her, and she like is trying to like use her powers, but since she's new, like their powers are weak, and she can just like stun men. And throughout the book she has like these moments where she stuns other men as well, and like basically like hypnotizes them and like haunts them into like doing good or being better people. But he like tries to do his thing. It doesn't work. She ends up getting saved by Tabitha and like the other girls. Tabitha, though, before they save Pearl, it kind of all happens at the same time. She ends up getting taken to the brothel and being put in the brothel and almost like SA'd because the police like arrest Mike for taking the madam's gun, and like it's this whole big thing. She literally throws up on them, and that's what saves her from being SA'd, which is amazing. I love that. So Tabitha and Pearl kind of get saved at all the same time, but unfortunately Jack gets away. We end this story with Pearl deciding, like, because Pearl's kind of like ready to like risk her life because she doesn't really want to have snakes for hair, and the snakes come and go. But anyways, Pearl decides like, okay, like I'm gonna live with it or deal with this. They like leave New York for a little while, then they decide to come back. They kind of like team up and start basically like, instead of like doing, they quit the Salvation Army for a bit, so they decide to go back to the Salvation Army, but instead of like passing out pamphlets, now they're like going to help people. Like they go to this lady's house who's married, but she has a bunch of kids and no help from her husband. They go and like are cleaning up, taking care of the kids, and then Pearl like goes to the men and is like, get your together basically. So they're gonna do that. Of course, Tabitha and Mike are like still have a brewing romance, and we end with, even though Jack the Ripper got away, he's on a train, and he's haunted by like the stuff that Pearl like got into his head. But also I'm pretty sure like one of the other Medusas lived, and the lady who was like the fake Medusa, they team up and they find him on this train, and dot dot dot. So does he get away? We're not really sure. But it isn't just a story about Medusa and Jack the Ripper. It's kind of like a budding like female sisterhood, growing, learning to love, learning how to be yourself. It is YA, so it reads very easy. The fantasy is not hard. And again, this will be out on September 16th. So if you're going to be interested in reading that, that is when you can purchase it. And if you haven't already, go listen to the podcast on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you like to listen to podcasts. And we'll be back next week with another book review.